Cool Off and Ride, A Trolley Trip to Beat the Heat by Claudia Friddell, illustrated by Jen Harney. Cool off and ride, a trolley trip to beat the heat. If your city's got a heat wave, temps a pushin' 95, how you gonna cool off when there's no relief inside? When the sun is setting low, but the temp is rocking high, all the streetcars drop their fares for a cool off and ride. Kids are swinging for a breeze. Only Hazel hits the slide. Now she's holding burning bloomers, needs a cool off and ride. Papa's planting pink petunias. Now they've all dried up and died. With no water in the well, better cool off and ride. Hound dog's a panting in the backyard. Hear him howling far and wide. Ditched his bone and leave it home. Gonna cool off and ride. Granny's knitting on the front porch. Gramps is begging by her side. Want to melt right off your rocker? Let's go cool off and ride. Taylor twins race from the river. Sad their plans got pushed aside. We can't swim in boiling water. Let's go cool off and ride. Mom is calling from the kitchen. Got no pan, but chicken's fried. It's way too hot for cooking. Why not cool off and ride? Boyfriend Billy comes a-courtin', hoping Sue will be his bride. Isn't nerves that's got him sweating, has to cool off and ride. Baby Millie's getting cranky. Millie's mama screamed and cried. There is nothing that will calm her except a cool off and ride. Driver's calling out the trolley. Need a breeze? Come on inside. Grab your kids and bring your neighbors. Time to cool off and ride. See them pouring down the hill, people racing far and wide. Folks are squeezing for a reason. Come and cool off and ride. Thanks for listening. And here are some facts for us. It says, author's note, I was first inspired to write Cool Off and Ride while spending a lovely afternoon at the Baltimore Streetcar Museum. As I watched excited children climb into their seats on a renovated trolley car, and as I listened to the guide describe folks fleeing their unair-conditioned homes on hot summer evenings in the late 1930s and early 1940s for a breezy trolley ride, I became nostalgic for my own childhood summer memories. Back in Kansas in the 1960s, I raced neighbors to the ice cream truck, chased lightning bugs in the dark, cranked the ice cream maker with my mom on the front porch, waved homemade fans with my grandma on her patio, and ran through the sprinkler with my brother. The second inspiration for writing Cool Off and Ride came from my parents' childhood memories of surviving sizzling Midwestern summers. At the same time as the 1930s cool-off rides in Baltimore, my grandparents were busy finding ways to cool off their families. My grandfather's clever innovations made Depression life easier in and out of my dad's childhood home in Joplin, Missouri. But my grandparents' coolest invention by far, or my grandfather's coolest invention by far, was his homemade air conditioner. With a hole-poked hose lined the top of their screened porch, my grandfather placed fans below, positioned to blow falling water droplets, sending a lovely breeze across the porch, the perfect place for a cool-off and chat for family and neighbors. My mother's mother created her own clever solution for surviving hot Kansas summers. With a blanket spread on the floor for her daughter's nap time, my grandmother positioned a fan to blow over an ice cube tray, passing a cool breeze over my mom and her sisters for their cool-off and nap. What are your favorite ways to cool off on a steamy summer day? And here are some cool facts about Baltimore's Cool Off and Ride program. In 1937, the non-rush hour bus and streetcar lines in Baltimore were losing money. So the BTC, or Baltimore Transit Company, started a round trip for one fare promotion from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. What started as a 30-day experiment on June 14th turned into a huge summer success running until September 30th. It became so popular to ride at night for a one fare round trip that the following summers, starting on July 1st, 1938, the Cool Off and Ride program started as a number of different streetcar and bus lines carrying 8,000 to 9,000 riders a night. The number 25 and 31 lines were the most popular cool-off cars because they were smooth, fast, streamlined, modern streetcars used for non-rush hour rides. These cool-off rides continued until World War II restrictions forced them to end them in the early 1940s. Streetcars then and now. Back in the 1800s, the only way to get around, besides walking or traveling by horseback or buggy, was to take a streetcar. Also known as trolleys, electric streetcars ran on steel rails set into streets. Their onboard electric motors received power from an overhead electric wire connected by a trolley pole. Originally, there were summer and winter streetcars of a variety of sizes. The largest trolley cars could carry up to 100 passengers, and the seats flipped over so they could change their directions. Frank Sprague, a young apprentice to Thomas Edison, made a name for himself when he invented the first successful electric streetcar system. In 1884, he founded the Sprague Electric Railway and Motor Company, and in 1888, Sprague opened the Richmond Union Passenger Railway in Virginia. Countless cities followed Richmond's successful new form of public transportation, and by 1902, there were 15,000 miles of streetcar lines in cities across America. In 1871, John W. Fields, a black barber, filed a suit against the Baltimore City Passenger Railway Company, demanding that both black and white people should be allowed to ride the same horse-drawn streetcars. He was following the lead of William Nichols, an African American who started protests 4 years earlier in New Orleans when he refused to leave a whites-only streetcar. The Baltimore courts agreed with Fields, and after November 13, 1871, Baltimore's streetcars were integrated. All riders entered from the back of the trolley, exited from the front, and sat wherever they liked. Slowed down by a growing number of cars and buses on crowded city streets in the 1940s, trolley cars lost money, and by the 1960s, most lines across the country went out of business. Now, as a solution to overcrowded streets filled with exhaust-producing cars, some cities have returned to electric streetcars. Folks can ride a sleek, new, and improved streetcar in Cincinnati, Detroit, Portland, Seattle, Salt Lake City, Tucson, Atlanta, and Kansas City, Missouri. For those who prefer a ride back in time, the places to ride an antique streetcar are San Francisco, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Dallas, and Toronto. The St. Charles Avenue streetcar line in New Orleans is the longest continuously running street railway in the world. What do streetcars and roller coasters have in common? If you love riding Ferris wheels and roller coasters at amusement parks, you might want to thank streetcars. Back in the 1800s, the transit companies needed to find a reason for people to ride trolley cars on the weekends when businesses were closed to help pay for the electricity. So someone had a bright idea. Why not build trolley parks at the end of track lines where people could picnic, listen to music, enjoy rides, and socialize on the weekends? People around the country thought that was a great idea, and it didn't take long before hundreds of trolley parks popped up in cities and towns across America. Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York, was the most famous trolley park. Over time, swimming pools, boat rides, pavilions, and amusement park attractions were added to bring families, friends, and communities together to escape the city and enjoy a relaxing day in a beautiful setting. Here's a bibliography where the author got their information from, so you could take a look if there's a book and you want to find out more. And there are some acknowledgments. Thanks to Chris McNally for introducing me to Baltimore's cool off and ride history, and to Father Kevin A. Mueller for sharing his time and expertise about Baltimore streetcar history. Special thanks to the legendary cartoonist George Booth for the years of shared laughter and joy his hilarious cartoons provided me and my father, and for his delightful book with author Nancy Van Loon, Possum Came A-Knocking, a Friddell family favorite and an inspiration for this book. All right. For the coolest kids around, Gwen J. Scott Pitt, George, Charlie, Liam, Audie, Virginia, and Charlie W. from CF, and dedicated to Father Kevin A. Mueller for his invaluable help. Okay, kids, get ready to have some fun. Claudia Friddell and Jen Harney are going to take you on a whimsical, action-packed ride back to the days before air conditioning, when folks raced to trolley cars to catch a cool breeze on a hot summer night. Thank you for listening.